Look, drop everything you think you know about how this weekend ended. I mean, seriously, just forget the champagne spraying on the podium. Forget it all.
Yeah, and completely ignore those, carefully crafted PR statements coming out of the motorhomes today.
Exactly. Because if you want to understand what actually just happened at the 2026 British Grand Prix at Silverstone, you got to look past the asphalt. You have to stare directly into just the boiling tension of the post-race paddock right now.
It is absolute chaos back there.
It really is. Because this championship just got completely flipped on its head. I mean, championship leader Antonelli takes a devastating 0, just a crater-sized hole blown right in his standings.
Right.
But the real explosion, the one that's honestly going to dictate the rest of this season, it didn't even happen on the track. It happened behind closed doors in the stewards' room with Lewis Hamilton.
I mean, we are looking at a title fight that was just injected with pure, unfiltered rocket fuel. Antonelli's DNF changes the math entirely, obviously.
Yeah, that's what.
But the way the stewards handled the fallout of this race, that is going to be talked about for years. The implications of what the FIA decided in that room, it goes way beyond a single race result.
Yeah, it really exposes a glaring double standard in how the rule book is applied.
Exactly. And quite frankly, it saved a championship campaign for Mercedes and Ferrari that was, teetering on the edge of the abyss.
Which is exactly why we are tearing apart that lap 38 incident at Copse today. We are analyzing exactly how Hamilton miraculously escaped a slam dunk penalty. A penalty that, let's be real, even he thought he was getting.
Oh, he was convinced he was getting it.
Right. So we're breaking down what was honestly a chaotic, disastrous race for him technically, and we're explaining why this single stewarding decision just blew the 2026 title fight between Antonelli, Russell, and Hamilton completely wide open.
And we aren't pulling punches today either. I mean, the FIA has fundamentally altered the trajectory of 3 different drivers' seasons with one highly subjective ruling.
So let's just paint the picture for everyone on lap 38. We are at turn 9, Copse corner.
Terrifying corner.
Unbelievable corner. For anyone who hasn't stood near the fence there, this is a blind right-hand sweeper.
Yeah.
And they take it flat out in 8th gear.
It's one of the most blindingly fast corners on the entire calendar.
Exactly. So Nico Hülkenberg's Audi breaks down on the exit. The yellow flags are out. The marshals are visibly active. And Lewis Hamilton blasts right through the sector without dropping his speed at all.
Not even a lift.
Not a lift. And in modern Formula One, ignoring a yellow flag at those speeds is, well, it's the cardinal sin. It usually guarantees a severe race-ruining penalty.
Always.
I mean, Hamilton even got on the radio later and basically said, I missed it, I'm getting a penalty. When it rains, it pours. He was mentally kissing that 207th podium goodbye right then and there.
Yeah, he knew he messed up.
Right. And yet he walks out of the steward's room with a mere reprimand, a polite talking to. I mean, how on earth does that happen?
Because, look, the FIA is increasingly officiating the sport via a spreadsheet rather than common sense.
Wow. Okay, explain that.
Well, let's break down the highly technical, almost microscopic excuse that saved his race. Because the stewards didn't just look at the video, they looked at the exact telemetry of the digital light panels on the track.
Okay, the trackside ones.
Right. And their justification was that Hamilton entered the mini-sector just a fraction of a second before the physical yellow flag or the trackside yellow panel was illuminated.
Wait, really? Just a fraction of a second?
Yeah, so literally 0 indication before turn nothing for him. And by the time he hit the straight toward turn 10, the very next trackside panel he encountered had already flashed back to green.
But wait, hold on. What about the dash? The steering wheels have a blindingly bright yellow LED light directly on them, specifically for this reason.
And that's the kicker. This is exactly where the telemetry saved him. The data showed that the yellow dash light on his steering wheel did illuminate, but only for a fraction of a second.
Why? How does a safety light only blink for a second?
Because the GPS marshalling system is zoned into these incredibly precise microsectors, he crossed the boundary of that specific yellow zone right as the system triggered.
Oh, I see.
Meaning his car's internal computer only registered the hazard for a heartbeat before his physical car crossed into a green zone. So the FIA's official stance is that there was no trackside panel in his direct line of sight, the dash light was transient, and therefore, and this is a direct quote from the ruling, the time available for him to react was very limited.
Wow.
Yeah, they officially exonerated him because of a digital blind spot.
Are we seriously buying this? I mean, I hear the technical loophole, but it just sounds like a highly, highly convenient excuse.
It's the data they have to go by, though.
Yeah, but it's like relying on a GPS that has a half-second lag. If you're doing 80 on the highway and looking in your mirror to merge, by the time your brain registers the digital ping to take the exit, your physical car has already passed the off-ramp.
Right, the system is slow.
Sure, the technology lagged, but a broken down Audi on the side of the track isn't exactly invisible.
Mm.
Is "my screen blinked" really an acceptable excuse for a 7-time world champion? I mean, you were supposed to be aware of your physical surroundings.
The GPS lag analogy is perfect, honestly.
Yep.
But you have to multiply that sensory overload by 10 to understand the visceral reality of that cockpit in that exact moment.
Okay, fair.
Hamilton had literally just passed Max Verstappen.
Oh, right.
The adrenaline is peaking. When you execute a move on Max Verstappen, you don't just look forward. You are instantly glued to your mirrors because you know the counterattack is coming at the very next braking zone.
He's waiting for the dive bomb.
Exactly. And the stewards explicitly accepted this as an extenuating circumstance. He was bracing for Verstappen. He is pulling 5 Gs through cops, looking backward, essentially. At 180 miles per hour, your brain simply cannot process a millisecond flash on a steering wheel when your focal point is 100 meters behind you.
That's intense.
The reaction time available legitimately was 0.
I get the physics of the human eye, I really do. But the rule book doesn't say slow down for yellow flags unless you're really busy defending against a Red Bull.
Well, no, it doesn't, which is exactly why the stewards noted that he didn't reduce his speed appreciably.
Right.
But they deemed the digital deployment of the flags to be so disjointed with his physical position on the track that penalizing him for a human limitation was unjust. They recognized their own system failed to give him a continuous, visible warning.
Okay, but to really understand how lucky Hamilton was with that totally subjective human ruling, we have to look at the exact opposite end of the stewarding spectrum this weekend.
Oh, here we go.
Because the FIA isn't always forgiving.
Right.
And Carlos Sainz found out exactly what happens when you trigger an automated sensor-based rule.
It was brutal.
If you want to talk about how the rulebook is applied, you have to look at the utter devastation of Sainz's race. Carlos gets hit with a draconian 1-lap penalty. 1 full lap.
A penalty that essentially exiles you from the Grand Prix entirely. I mean, your race is over.
Over. And for what? For unlapping himself at the wrong time under the safety car. He didn't put anyone's life in danger. He made a procedural error based on bad information from the Williams pit wall.
Yeah, the team messed up.
So can you explain how a driver even makes that mistake? Because to the casual viewer, it just looks like he drove past the safety car when he wasn't supposed to.
It comes down to how the unlapping procedure actually works mechanically in the modern era. Under safety car, drivers don't just go when they feel like it.
Right.
They must wait for a specific digital signal, the lapped cars may now overtake message. And they have to cross a highly specific safety car line on the track to actually do it.
So it's very controlled.
Completely controlled. Inside the cockpit, Sainz is staring at a delta time on his dash, listening to his race engineer. The Williams team software essentially misaligned with the FIA's absolute timing loop on the track.
Okay.
The team said go, Sainz went, but his transponder crossed the physical safety car line a fraction of a second outside the permitted window.
So it just trips a sensor.
Exactly. A transponder trips a sensor embedded in the asphalt, and the FIA timing screens instantly light up purple. It is an automated black and white procedural breach. No arguments.
So how on earth do we reconcile this? We have a staggering clash of philosophies here.
That's tough.
Ignoring a yellow flag, which is a fundamental safety violation designed to protect a stranded driver and marshals on a live racetrack, gets you a polite talking to. Because the stewards feel bad about a digital lag.
Right.
But a timing sensor misalignment under a neutralized safety car gets you a 1-lap penalty. I'll just say it. If this isn't Lewis Hamilton, and this isn't his home race at Silverstone where he just secured his 207th podium, he gets a 5-second penalty, minimum.
Wow.
We are looking at the Silverstone Shield in full effect.
Okay, I'm going to push back on that immediately. Because while the Silverstone Shield narrative is incredibly tempting, it's conflating 2 totally different officiating mechanisms. The FIA isn't playing favorites. With Sainz, procedural rules regarding unlapping are absolute. The sensors trigger, the software says the car crossed the line illegally, and the penalty is an automated slam dunk.
Just a machine saying yes or no.
Exactly. There is 0 human gray area in that software. With Hamilton, the stewards were hyper-focusing on the telemetry of the light panels themselves. They couldn't penalize him because their own digital breadcrumb trail proved the warning was inadequate. It was a digital failure, not a sensor breach.
But the digital system bailed him out. The sheer luck of that timing in the steward's room was the only thing that salvaged his result.
Well, he did drive a great race to stay up there.
Did he? Because frankly, if you look at the rest of his Sunday, he needed that lifeline. Because up until that ruling, his race was an unmitigated nightmare.
A nightmare is putting it lightly. Let's trace this back. Hamilton starts the weekend looking untouchable. He takes the sprint pole on Friday, what he literally called his Friday magic.
He looks so fast.
The Ferrari looks perfectly dialed in, the crowd is deafening, but the moment the lights go out on Sunday, the entire thing unravels. First of all, he jumps the start.
Unbelievable.
Lewis Hamilton, a veteran of over 300 starts, creeps early and gets a 5-second penalty right out of the gate.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, a jump start in F1 isn't like a sprinter leaving the blocks early where you can just see it with the naked eye. How does the FIA actually catch a movement that small?
It's all about those transponders again. There are sensors embedded in the specific grid box on the track surface. They communicate with the transponder on the car.
So it's super sensitive.
Hypersensitive. If that transponder detects even a microscopic rotation of the tires or a forward creep before the 5 red lights extinguish, it flags it instantly.
Wow.
Hamilton essentially misjudged the clutch bite point, and a veteran like him only misjudges the clutch when he knows the car setup is compromised and he is desperately trying to compensate on the launch.
So you're saying he knew the car was wrong before he even dropped the clutch?
He had to, because once the race got going, the Ferrari was completely undrivable. He suffered terminal, debilitating understeer. He was on the radio saying he couldn't even get the car to turn for the entire first half of his stint.
At a track like Silverstone, how much time does terminal understeer actually bleed from a lap?
It's catastrophic. Silverstone is all about high speed, sweeping corners, maggots, Beckett's, Stowe. Abby, exactly. You need a car that has an incredibly strong front end that just bites into the asphalt and rotates. Understeer means the front tires are sliding, they aren't gripping at all.
Right.
So instead of tracing a tight, fast arc through the corner, the car just wants to plow straight off the track into the gravel.
So how does a driver even fix that while doing 190 miles an hour?
By fundamentally altering the car's mechanics mid-corner, Hamilton literally had to start changing his differential settings on the steering wheel mid-stint.
Just to get it to turn.
Yes. The differential controls the torque distribution to the rear wheels. By pushing more power to the outside rear tire, he is essentially forcing the rear of the car to pivot, artificially overriding the lack of front grip.
That sounds exhausting.
It is an incredibly difficult, unnatural way to drive an F1 car. By the time he dialed out the understeer using the diff, the gap to his teammate, Charles Leclerc, was just insurmountable.
And then comes the pit wall failure. Because even with the jump start penalty and fighting the differential at every single apex, he's clawing his way back.
He was making progress.
He was. But during the pit stops, Ferrari makes a strategic call predicting a safety car finish.
Yeah.
They gamble, it completely backfires, and Hamilton loses P2 directly to George Russell.
Brutal.
So he crosses the line third, gets bathed in champagne by Leclerc, who took the win, but Hamilton wasn't even smiling. He flat out said all the magic from Friday vanished.
He was furious because he knew with the right setup, the win was on the table. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, that podium, that third place that he managed to hold on to by the skin of his teeth and a very forgiving stewards ruling, is a monumental lifeline for the championship.
Yeah, we need to look at the championship math right now, because the stakes just hit the stratosphere.
They really did.
Kimi Antonelli came into this weekend looking like the golden child. He's been imperious, but he takes a DNF at Silverstone. 0 points. He's still leading the standings with 179 points, but there is suddenly blood in the water.
Oceans of it. George Russell finishes P2, bags a championship, altering 18 points, and is now hunting Antonelli down with relentless pace. Russell is just 25 points behind.
Which is nothing.
That is exactly one race win. The gap is virtually gone.
And Hamilton, because he kept his 15 points for third place, because he avoided that yellow flag penalty at Copse, he is sitting right there, 32 points back.
This raises a profound question about the momentum of this 2026 season. I mean, look at Ferrari and Hamilton. Did this race prove that they're actually slipping in raw race pace?
You think they are?
Think about it. Hamilton needed Friday magic in the sprint, jumped the start because the setup was off, suffered terminal understeer, lost out on strategy, and basically relied on a digital loophole in the steward's room and Leclerc's absolute heroics at the front to salvage a result.
Are they losing the development war to Mercedes?
See, I look at it the exact opposite way. I really do.
Really?
Yeah, I think surviving a disastrous, miserable weekend with a podium is exactly how you steal a world championship.
Okay, I can see that.
Hamilton didn't have the car underneath him. He made uncharacteristic errors on the grid. The strategy failed him. He was under investigation for a major safety penalty, and he still walked away with 15 points while the championship leader scored 0.
Fair point.
That isn't slipping. That is the defining DNA of a title contender.
It's the old racing adage, right? You
Yeah.
win championships on your bad days, not your good days.
But you cannot ignore the pace of that Mercedes. Russell out-strategized Ferrari, maximized his aerodynamic package, and put himself firmly in the fight. The historical context here is heavy.
Oh, completely.
Antonelli is a phenomenal generational talent, but he now has a very hungry George Russell in the exact same machinery breathing down his neck. And lurking just behind both of them is a 7-time world champion armed with a Ferrari that, if they can figure out the front-end grip, is clearly still a race winner, as Leclerc proved emphatically.
It is the absolute boiling point in the paddock right now. The title fight is completely 100% wide open.
Wide open.
Antonelli went from comfortable to incredibly vulnerable in the span of 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon. Russell is closing the gap with brutal, calculated efficiency. And Hamilton just proved that he can survive his own mistakes, a terrible car setup, and the steward's room to keep his title hopes fiercely alive.
The psychological warfare over the next few races is going to be staggering. Antonelli has never felt pressure like this in his career.
No.
How does a young driver respond to a DNF when two of the most relentless British drivers in the history of the sport are hunting him down race by race?
That is the exact thought we want to leave you with today. I want you to really mull this over, because the dynamic has fundamentally shifted. Are we watching the absolute unraveling of Antonelli's championship lead right before our eyes?
It's possible.
And by letting Hamilton keep that podium based on a digital blind spot, did the stewards just hand Mercedes and Ferrari the ultimate lifeline for 2026?
The FIA might have just accidentally written the script for the greatest title decider of the decade.
And we are going to be tracking every single microscopic telemetry trace of it. If you want to join the war in the comments, you need to get involved right now. Hit subscribe on YouTube, follow Paddock Notes on Instagram, and get on our TikTok. We want your boldest takes on that Lap 38 incident. Was it a legitimate digital blind spot, or did the stewards deploy the Silverstone shield? Let us know.
Seriously, hit that follow button fast. Because the way this season is going, the FIA is probably going to drop another bombshell penalty that completely rewrites the standings while we're sleeping.
They usually do.
Right. And you do not want to miss our breakdown when they do.
Keep your eyes on the telemetry. Keep your foot on the floor. We'll see you next time on Paddock Notes.